Thank you for tuning into the Pot of Gold podcast, where we talk about finances, wealth generation, and real estate investing. Today on the show, we have Nathaniel Hovsepian. How are you doing today, Nathaniel?
I'm doing very well, and you did very well pronouncing the last name.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's
Yeah.
I don't know, it's something that I struggle with my last name being Opoulos.
Yeah,
People get that wrong all the time, so try to
I
make
can
an
imagine.
effort.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But Nathaniel here has been in the real estate game for a little while. He's done wholesaling for, I think you said, 8 years.
Yeah.
And he originally is from California and is currently living in South Carolina with his wife, Brittany. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's
Yeah,
always it's always a pleasure meeting another Nathaniel, and it's really rare meeting one spelled differently than mine. So
yep, that's I get that a lot.
yeah.
I was telling you a little bit before the show. My parents had a little argument about how to spell it, and the Bible was different than the way either one of them wanted to spell it. So here we are.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'd love for you to kind of just tell us a little bit about how you got started in real estate and what led you to where you're at right now.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I was born and raised in Southern California. I was in the Marine Corps. Back in 2007, I got out. I did a little stint in Arizona, and then I moved back to Southern California. That's where my family and my friends were, and I ended up buying a condo there in Garden Grove. And I lived there for just around 4 years. And when I had met my wife, girlfriend at the time at Cal State Long Beach, we both had intentions on leaving California pretty much as soon as we graduated. So in 2016, we, within like 3 weeks of graduating from college, had moved to Oklahoma and had listed my condo on the market. And that thing sold for quite a bit more than I had bought it for. This was going from 2012 to 2016, so things were still, creeping up pretty well from that 2018 housing dip. I mean, 2008 housing dip, excuse me. um, and so, I had always had kind of real estate in my head as this is something that people do. This is something that I could do. But when you sell a house and you get a chunk of cash, things start to click like, oh, this is a thing. And so we were looking for a primary residence in Oklahoma and found this great kind of starter home, a 3-bed, 2-bath, like 1,500 square feet on 7 acres. And like, this is the house that we want to, kind of plant our roots in, so to speak, in Oklahoma. And within like 2 weeks of us supposed to be closing on this thing, Brittany got a job like an hour and a half away. And we both kind of were like, what the heck do we do now? We're supposed to close on this house. We've got all our cash, we put cash into this thing. So we said, and she don't, I didn't want her to drive 3 hours a day commuting
Yeah,
back and forth from
that'd be
work.
pretty rough.
Yeah, she was already at that time doing like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. I was like, no, we're not adding a bunch of time to this. So we ended up just going, hey, let's fix this thing up and make it a rental property. We can get a mortgage or whatever on the house and get our cash back out. But that's what we ended up doing. So I fixed the house up. I did all the work myself. I wouldn't do that again, probably, unless it was my own personal residence. But I did all the work myself. We rented it out, and it worked really well as a rental for the few years that we owned it while we were living in Oklahoma and then transitioning to South Carolina. And that's when I started. I was like, well, how do I do more of this, right? And so I started doing some research, and okay, well, you can talk directly to sellers. Maybe I should backtrack a little bit. I'm a little bit of a control freak, in a sense. Like I want to have control of the process throughout the way, and this is something that, as a leader now inside of my business, I'm having to let go of, right? But at the time, it was like, I don't want to talk to a real estate agent because it's another person with their thoughts and desires and things kind of muddling up the conversation. So I wanted to go talk directly to sellers, and I essentially got into wholesaling because I ended up coming across houses that I wasn't interested in buying, but I had negotiated with these sellers. And I was like, okay, now what do I do? So just doing research and kind of figuring out things along the way. 8 years later, I had been wholesaling and flipping houses for 8 years and done very, very little adding to my portfolio. So yeah, that's kind of the really brief history there.
Well, that's kind of cool though, because I don't know. People have their different routes that they kind of take, and all kinds of lines up in similar fashion. And that's what's cool about real estate is that it doesn't really matter what kind of walk of life you come from.
Yeah.
There's opportunity for you to be able to learn and participate.
Yeah. As
Well,
long
I
as you're
like
willing
that.
to learn and put it in action. I mean, that's what I wish, I guess you can always look back and say, oh, I wish I had done more. I wish I had done that. And of course I do. I wish I had done more. I held a bunch of different part-time jobs just to kind of fill the time because I was treating it a little bit more passively. Like I was doing inbound marketing, right? I did direct mailers, I did Google ads, I did all these different things. And so I was just sitting back and waiting for people to call in instead of being very proactive uh,
Mm,
about, figuring out different ways to outreach, different, go door knock, make phone calls, right? It didn't happen until I joined Sub 2 and well, yeah, a little bit before I joined Sub 2 in 2022, but I didn't really get active until like 2021, where I was like, oh, like you have not been treating this like a business. You're not full time. I like, oh yeah, I'm a real estate investor. Like, no, you're not. You are a valet who kind of dabbles in real estate, right? Or whatever I was doing at the time. Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
So what prompted the change? What was the catalyst?
We went through a coaching program with Creighton Bertrand. He's
Okay.
a high performance personal development coach. That was last year, like kind of the middle of last year, 2023. And, we kind of went into it thinking it was going to be one thing. And it ended up being a lot more than we had expected. And what we really took from it was taking stock every day, every week, every month, every quarter, and like, what do we value? What have we been doing over the past, X amount of time? What do we like about it? What don't we like about it? What's working? What's not working? And how do we see ourselves moving forward? And so it was middle of last year. We kind of ended things with him after our coaching program together. And we both were looking at each other like, is this what we want to be doing? Do we want to just continue wholesaling? And ultimately, the answer was no. Brittany was not super involved and be in using her skill set to the highest of her highest ability as a wholesaling company. And so we decided let's focus a little bit more on flipping. And so that's what we did for the second half of last year. Is like we're just going to flip houses. We're going to kind of shut the wholesaling down, so to speak. I'm only going to talk to people that this is a house that we would flip, and we're going to also start getting in front of other wholesalers here locally. And so we focused on that, and then like 6 months after that, it's like, okay, look, we're taking stock again. Like, is this like, yeah, it's working in a sense, right? We're making money, but the reason we got started into real estate is to buy properties and to hold them forever. And that's not what we're doing in flipping, right? Every house we flipped, it was a little bit like crushing me. Like, we did all this work to acquire it. We did all this work to manage the construction and the rehab, and then we did all this work to pick the right price and get good pictures and sell this thing, and then we're just like letting it go.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I think that people don't appreciate this enough, but the more effort and focus you put into a thing, the more it starts to matter to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can actually direct that process by choosing what you want to put the most focus and effort into.
Yep.
And I don't know, it's a lesson that I learned when we bought our bearded dragon. He's just our pet lizard. We decided to go with reptiles because my wife was in zoology as a major in college, but also because living in an apartment complex,
Mm.
we didn't have to pay any kind of a pet fee to have a lizard instead of a dog, right?
Yeah.
But it turns out that bearded dragons are much more complicated than I thought they were.
Okay.
They have to have all kinds of fancy lights and vitamins.
Mm.
And so I got really invested in taking care of this pet. And all of a sudden, I realized that I really, really cared about his welfare.
Yeah.
And that's where the lesson came from.
Mm.
But yeah, it's fun to see how it works because you can pick something to really put all of your effort into, and as a result, you will grow to be passionate about it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, we want to. We always say like follow your dreams. Well, why not just make what you're doing your dream sometimes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you decided to start pivoting by taking stock from this instruction from your coach, Creighton Bertrand.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that his name?
Creating change. Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, I like that as well because the more you focus on things, the more clear you can get about how you want that thing to be. And taking stock is definitely part of that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not aiming at anything, it doesn't really matter where you go.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's something that I mean, we do on a daily basis of like, we have daily goals and like we set up what does a successful day look like as a real estate investor, entrepreneur, as a husband, as a father, right? And so if at the end of the day I'm able to go, okay, I hit these things. All right, that was a good day. Even if the rest of the day was a freaking whirlwind of nonsense and chaos, like I spent 30 minutes with my kids. We ate dinner as a family, right? These things that I consider like a successful day for me. I don't know why I put that in quotes, but right. But we also do it every week. Brittany and I sit down at the end. We do it on Sunday nights. Like, okay, what did this week look like? What did we do? What we call it like varsity JV. What did we do at a varsity level this week? What did we do at a JV level this week? And what can we improve on going into next week? And then like, hey, what do we have on the docket that needs to, like, what are these things that absolutely need to get done that we know right now that we can put on our tasks list? And then at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, like, hey, what are, like those few questions: what's working well, what's not working well, what are we liking, what are we not liking? And as entrepreneurs, we can't completely dictate what we're doing. That the business kind of needs us to do certain things, but we can say like, okay, my morning routine isn't working. I can switch that up, or like, this exercise program that we have going on is not working for me. I need to change that up. Like, we have the power to do that stuff. I feel like I'm saying like a lot.
We all have our speech patterns, right?
Yeah, right. So I think it's one of those things that I've been trying to focus on. I've been focusing on, and so when I can catch myself saying it a lot, but in as you're saying them, you can't just stop it. It happens, and then you go,
Yeah.
oh, there it was again. Yeah, but I lost my train of thought, Daniel. So, oh yeah, so that's what we've been. That's one really big thing that we took away from the time with Creighton was taking stock in your days, in your weeks, in your month, in your quarters, and going, is this where our morals and our values and all of that stuff is aligned? And if it's not, then how do we change and iterate going forward so all that stuff is aligned? And if we're not enjoying the now, then what's the point of working towards a future, right? It's not, for us, it's not worth sacrificing. It's not exactly the right way to put it, but because we are sacrificing things to a certain extent. But like, I'm not going to give up time with my kids today to the best of my ability to build this thing out. This is what's important to me, is being a present dad and being a present husband, right? And being a leader for my team. If I can't do that now, something's got to change, because that's how we're going to build a multi-million-dollar company with keeping values and morals, right? The things that I value, we push. I don't push it on my team, but like, we show it to our team, and we value that in our team, and that's something that we get back. As things haven't been going well for the past 2 weeks. I'm just saying theoretically, but I had to take my kid to the doctor, and you guys didn't care. Yeah, because family's first for us, and so that's where the values and morals and stuff like that kind of fall into place for us. Is I can build a $1 million business, but if my kids don't know me in 10 years, what the heck was the point? And
yeah. No, I like that a lot. And what I'm hearing is that you have certain aspects about how you want to build your life that are not negotiable.
Right. Yep.
And so if you can't make things work with those things still in place, then the end result isn't worth it either way.
Yeah. It's great that you use that, the non-negotiables, because I've talked about it on my Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, that we've been really focused on these business non-negotiables, the posting on social media, creating opportunities on different platforms on social media, exercising, reading development books, business books daily, uh, reviewing your goals. But there, for us, we have non-negotiables outside of that too. It's like, I got to spend time with family. I got to spend time with wife, right? I got to spend time with me, not thinking about business and thinking about, my spirituality and all the other things, right? Because that's how am able to create a whole, full, fulfilled life, right? And while we are super focused on building out the business and creating opportunities for ourselves and our, equity partners and such, it can't come at the expense of all the other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think it's wise or intelligent to try to run faster than you're able, or to go longer than you have strength.
Yep.
I know I've been burning the candle at both ends a lot, but there are some days where I just have to take some time and catch up on the sleep debt that I'm accruing.
Yeah.
But I definitely hear that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's the cool thing about our day and age, is that there are so many tools and frameworks that we can have access to if we just learn how to accept the feedback of our own situation and the things that we try.
Yeah.
And like you said, kind of adjust the sails every time you take stock if you're not in alignment.
Right.
Because we're all the captains of our own ship, and we're the ones that get to say where it goes.
Yeah.
Any moment or any day, you could make a drastic decision that totally changed the direction of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. How many kids do you have?
We have 2 currently. In this is coming out in a few days. In about a month from the release of this, we'll have number 3.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, do you have like little boys, little girls?
Yeah, we currently have a 3.5-year-old boy and a almost 2-year-old boy. He'll be turning 2 right around baby number 3 coming out. We don't know what's number 3 is going to be yet, so we have.
Oh, you have it be a surprise, huh?
Yeah, we did the surprise on for number 1. We didn't do the surprise for number 2. I'm pushing very hard to find out because I really, really want a girl.
Yeah.
And so I just want to know really badly, but Brittany does not want to know, and so we're fighting over the name Nathaniel at the moment. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, my sister, she has 3 little boys. So they're wild, but now she's gonna have a little girl.
Oh yeah, calm. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I really want I really want the father-daughter relationship thing. I am nervous about it though, because I'm not the most emotionally intelligent person with little people sometimes, and I hear that girls are even more emotional than boys. So yeah, but still hoping for a girl.
Opportunity to grow, right?
Yes, exactly.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool. Did you ever have any kind of situation as you were doing your investing or your wholesaling that you ended up having some kind of a problem or a puzzle that you also found a resolution for, that we could probably give like advice to aspiring wholesalers or investors?
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking to a lot of sellers, that is the number one thing, is figuring out what real underlying problems are going on and how to come up and solve it. And so I have one really good one that it is involving being direct to seller and having a conversation. Is that like this seller that I was talking to, he had a number in his head, and as a lot of people out there that talk to homeowners will know, his number was off. He wanted more for the house than it was worth, and I hadn't quite figured out what he really, really wanted at this point, but I was just very front with him, like, the house isn't worth this. This is what I I'm not interested in it at this price. I kind of did the pull away. This is what I think other people will pay for it. And so I put it, I used a kind of a creative tool, an option agreement. And I said, hey, look, give me the option at the price that you want. And I'm going to go out there, and it gives me the rights to go and talk to other investors about it. And I'm going to go and talk to other people, and I'll bring back offers to you. And if any of them are appealing, we'll take the cash offer. But this is where I think they're going to land. It was like a little bit under half of where he thought it was going to be. He wanted like 80,000, and I was thinking 35, maybe 40. And so sure enough, I talked to people, and as the offers are coming in, hey, 25, 32, yeah, 36. He's like, no, 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 no. So after we had gotten rid of cash, right, he's now said, okay, I can't sell this thing for cash. I was able enough to go, well, what are you really trying to accomplish? Why do you need this 80 grand? And ultimately he had a primary residence. This was an investment property that he was looking to sell. He had a primary residence that he wanted to get rid of the mortgage on. He didn't want to have a mortgage payment anymore. And he had a little bit of like credit card debt. And so we found out what the credit card debt was, made him a down payment for that, found out what his mortgage payment monthly was, created a seller finance note for that exact number, and we make a payment to him every single month for, I want to say it's $325, which pays his mortgage off every month. If he ends up doing that, I don't know. That's up to him. But ultimately, we found out what his root problem was, what he was desiring, and we were able to create a solution to solve that problem without, being the just take your cash and put it here and now it's gone. It accomplished the same thing for him. We just went about it a different route, right? And so that's probably the easiest or the best like problem solution example that I have. And those are, when you're talking to sellers, those are out there. You will get the surface level problem every time until you really start digging and finding out what's really going on. If you guys follow Pace out there, go find the bunnies, right?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah.
I like that too, though, because as I've gone into the world of entrepreneurship, I've realized that all business really is, or entrepreneurship is problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And then people pay you for solutions.
Yeah.
So being able to find creative ways to find solutions for people's problems is going to get you ahead of where you were at every single time.
Yep.
And excellent advice.
Yeah, I think it was in this marketing book, One Page Marketing Plan. And I think it said almost exactly verbatim, an entrepreneur is a problem solver for profit.
Cool.
Like, oh, it's so succinct and clear. Like, it's beautiful.
What was the name of that resource?
I think it's called One Page Marketing Plan.
One Page Marketing Plan. I'm just going to go ahead and write that down. Take a look at it myself. Page Marketing Plan. I'm currently reading a book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And I went to the Squad Up Summit in Orlando in 2024, and he spoke there. And I got a copy of his book. So
yeah, a friend of mine, Marlon Johnson. I thought it was this one. This is a different one. I haven't read this one yet, so no, I'm not making any. That was from Shane Evans.
cool.
Recommended. Yeah, I was like, there's a word there. Advice is not it. Advised, recommended. Yeah.
Yep. Recommendations. All right. Well, on the topic of recommendations, do you have any kind of recommendations for resources for people just getting started?
I can be a great resource for a certain people. Especially if you're just getting started in wholesaling, just real estate in general or entrepreneurship. I have a weekly Zoom that I run that you just come in and ask questions and talk and network. It's called Helping Hands Hour. It's Thursdays at noon Eastern time. If you go to nathanielhovsepian.com, there's like 2 little folds down. There's a link right there for that registration. I love personally, if you're just getting started with like financial literacy, I love The Richest Man in Babylon as a starting point. It is a small book. It's like 90 pages or something like that. It's kind of set in biblical times, and it's just very basic understanding of finances and how to save and set aside money, and then how to, just on the most basic level, how to invest. Either invest in things that you understand or with people who understand what they're doing. And so that's a place that I love. As far as like real estate investing goes, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki. But man, there's so many just business and entrepreneurial books. Who Not How is a great one. I think for mindset, especially as you're growing and like learning, one of my favorites is The Gap and the Gain. Um, you know,
Okay.
the, we're always looking at our goals, and they're always, not always, but they're they're unattainable. We haven't gotten there yet, and that can kind of weigh on us. Like, oh man, I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't gotten there yet, and people will quit. But instead of looking where you're not, look where you've come from, the gain that you've made. And it will, and whenever you look backwards, as long as you've been putting in work and action, you will see growth. And a lot of the times when we're stuck in the now and the present, and we're not where we want to be yet, it's easy to forget how much we've grown. And so that book is really a mind, just if you can just look at the gain and kind of mind the gap and be aware that the gap's there, positivity is always around you.
Oh yeah, it's extremely important too,
Yeah.
because I suffered a traumatic head injury from an assault when I was 18 years old,
Whoa.
and for a very long time, Nathaniel Opoulos was a bully to Nathaniel Opoulos, and he wasn't very kind to himself. So the interesting thing that happened for me though was coming to an understanding that shame, while it has some place in helping you to want to change, I don't think that it's very effective. I think it's more of a paralyzing force than a motive force.
Yeah.
And so one day I had this realization that what we do is like humanity, we're all very vested in stories, and we use something called suspension of disbelief in order to follow a story, even though it contains elements that are unbelievable. Things like Harry Potter has magic in it, or Lord of the Rings has things like orcs and elves and things. And we believe those things for the sake of the story while we're engaged in the story, so that we can continue the plot.
Yeah.
I realized that that was a mechanism that we all kind of intuitively know how to use, and that I could take that mechanism and apply it to my negative mindset. And so every time that I thought something that was negative that I believed, which often it was not actually true, I would suspend those mindsets and think about what would a positive version of myself think and do, and practice that, even though it was hard to believe it from where I was standing.
Yeah.
And the more I did that, the more my brain started to believe what I was telling it. And it kind of flipped everything around. And that's how I ended up deciding I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
I love it. That's beautiful. I mean, sorry to hear about your 18-year-old incident, but I am a big proponent of things happen in the past to get us to where we are and to get us to where we're going. And while you don't wish that upon somebody, maybe something much worse would have happened to you, or you wouldn't be as far along. Yeah.
I had a realization recently that overall I came out of the other side of that in a good place. I mean, my face is healed. My ability to talk to people has improved again. And I realized that the person that did it to me was violent. And if they had not done it to me, they would have done it to somebody else. And it's possible that I was a shield for some other person that maybe couldn't have made it through in such a way that maybe I prevented something even more drastic from happening.
Yeah.
I have no way of knowing that, but it's a better perspective.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful way to think about it, for sure. Yeah.
And the person that assaulted me was put into a mental institution where he was able to get some help. I don't know exactly what his life looks like nowadays, but I do hope that he was able to get improvement.
Yeah.
And the help that he needed.
Yeah.
Well, I really,
yeah, you're amazing for that. I appreciate you.
well, appreciate that as well. Try not to let my head get too big, though.
Yeah.
But
It won't fit in your hat.
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I really appreciate your time today. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave with the audience before we get off our podcast episode for the day?
No, I mean, we're buying properties pretty nationwide at the moment, and we're creating opportunities for people to get invested in properties in cash flowing assets that maybe they don't know how, maybe they don't have the time to, and so we're facilitating these opportunities for people. So that's one reason that this website exists, is that if you're out there and you're interested in getting invested in real estate and you just don't have the knowledge or the time, connect with me. I'm sure Nathaniel on the other end of this would be feeling the same way, but we're out here to help guide and help kind of coach in a sense. There's nothing being sold here other than opportunities to get invested in real estate. It's the way we build wealth. It's the way 90% of the world has built wealth for a very long time, and I like helping other people get invested. Like, that's why we create equity partnerships. That's why we peel back the curtain on the properties that we buy, so you can see the process along the way, and so we can all just win and grow together. That's what it's all about. So yeah, go to nathanielhovsepian.com, whether you're getting started or whether you're you're just interested in investing. We've got a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, I appreciate you having me here, brother.
Yeah, very cool. And I just want to follow that up with the fact that I believe very heavily that you should always treat people the way you'd like to be treated. And I like to see people succeed.
Yeah.
And so anybody that wants to work with Nathaniel Hovsepian, or who wants to work with Nathaniel Opoulos, you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
And we'd like to be able to help you out. So this has been an episode of the Pot of Gold podcast, where we talk about finances, wealth generation, and real estate investing. And we thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.